This is probably such a bad angle, but this is what we're working with today because my phone needs to be on the charger and I wanted to record a video right now. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't have done it. So we're gonna put up with the bad angle and lighting and we're gonna go forward with this video. We're gonna talk about vaccines today because I don't really want to talk about anything else right now. So let's go for it. So, first of all, trigger warning. We're talking about the COVID vaccine today and the negative impacts that it has had on your body, your mental health, your emotions, your psychology, your cells, your spiritual gifts, your connection with God, your intuition, your divine purpose, your cellular coding, and the list goes on and on and on and on and on. It's bad. It was not good. It was a nefarious agenda. So let's back it up a lot and talk about it, right? So if you don't already know, which I would assume you do, but if you don't, may I be the first to break the news to you. COVID was a orchestrated lab-made virus with the intention of essentially testing the human species to see how we react to governments trying to have 100% full control over us and to measure the level of how much would we comply, how much would we revolt, as well as start to prepare everybody to not fight back in the next 5 years, next half decade, because that's what we're going into. So let's go a little bit deeper than that. Let's bring it all the way back to 2020. I know that everyone's lives changed, and I want to be transparent. If this is the first time that you're hearing any information about this, I'm sorry in advance if I trigger you. I'm sorry if you're like, this is a crazy girl. You can call me crazy if you want to. I'm not. I lived through that all awakened, so I'm not scared of the perceptions that somebody could have on me for calling out the vaccine or the tests or the masks, because the masks, that one is a different video and probably not even on this platform. It's just so bad. Anyway, let's focus on vaccines today. Maybe we'll touch on tests, but mostly vaccine and what the fuck happened too. It's like lockdowns, the whole concept is to get you and to test you to see, would you stay inside? Would you isolate yourself away from the world? And most everyone did. Would you comply to the government that's telling you to remain in lockdown? All of these things were essentially massive psychological tests, psyops, for humanity to prepare for the new world order, or try to see what would it be like when we actually try to do this. Because COVID was just a test. Like that, unfortunately, was not even close to what they're trying to do. Now, here's the thing, and this is what I believe they didn't predict, and we're not going to get too deep into this. And it's so funny because I'm like, these videos could get me killed, but probably not in this lifetime. Basically, COVID had to happen for them to try to see where humanity's consciousness is at, to see if they'd be able to do the digital ID program that's coming out right now. If people comply to digital ID, we're all cooked. There are only select groups of us who do go off grid and do survive. I do believe that after time, everyone's gonna kill their own civilizations, and so within 2 or 3 years, like 2034, if digital ID happens, I think every single individual who's within that will end up bluntly dead. And those civilizations will fall and collapse in on themselves. And then we will go repopulate the world. That's how I see it happening if digital ID does come out. Goal is to not, it's coming out now, but the goal is to not comply. The only way that you get a critical mass of species to non-comply is if they actually see the danger and the harm, which is why now you're seeing a lot of truth speakers who might be coming out about what actually happened, because I can guarantee you that at some point someone might stumble upon this video or my content where I'm calling these things out. Maybe they got vaccinated, all the tests, fully believed in it, and now this is the first time where they're hearing the truth and they're like, oh shit, okay, maybe I should not just comply to whatever the government tells me. And we forgive those who did, because the levels and amount of money that went into that psychological operation was insane. So if you did make it through that, proud of you, because you literally are stronger than billions of dollars of psychological programming and propaganda. And you probably lost your whole family too, and maybe a lot of friends or your job or whatever it was. But let's continue on the topic specifically of vaccinations. So what does it do? what does it do? Like, what is it actually doing to you that people like myself are like, it was bad, like, or back in 2021, don't take it. What did we know that other people didn't? Well, here's the thing of what the vaccine actually has done to you. For example, I have 4 years experience of doing vaccine reversals on a mental, physical, spiritual, and emotional level, as well as a psychological level, which, yes, if we get into it, and I'm not gonna talk too much about it in this specific video, there's a whole bunch of scientific backing on the work that I do. If you're genuinely curious about working together, I include all the scientific backing so you know what's going on in our sessions in the PDF to learn about the session. So everything's covered there. What the vaccine is doing to you mentally, shutting your brain down, allowing you to be numb and controlled. Same with the COVID tests. Those COVID tests have nanotechnology in them. You physically cannot debate me on that one because I ripped one open and saw it with my own 2 eyes. You don't unsee nanotechnology after you've seen that. I'm sure, I don't know how much the internet's been removed of these videos, but I bet you at that time, there's definitely videos at that time on the internet, because that's how I knew to do it, was because I saw people do it, and I was like, oh, I want to see this firsthand and be able to have my own like firsthand evidence, do you know what I mean? But what that nanotech in the tests and the vaccine does, it basically goes around the receptors in your neurotransmitters to be able to shift how your body communicates to each other. So the role of a neurotransmitter in your brain and body is to transmit information and communicate. Now, when what is being communicated changes or can be controlled, that's when you have 100% full mind control over somebody, because you can control their thoughts, their actions, their behaviors, and their feelings, and the feeling is where they really, really get it. This can also then be linked into EMF and 5G, which we'll talk about in another time. I also have a whole masterclass that I'm, verging up right now. I'm actually doing it on December 13th, so that's in 2 days. If I post this before then, I will put the link to join us. It's a 2-hour workshop on how EMF and AI has actually disrupted the Earth's natural grid, so the ley lines and Earth's flow, as well as your body's flow, because what's happened to Earth is happening to us, what happens to us happens to Earth, and how you can actually get out of that disruption and stabilize your own frequency in your body and on the grid. So I am teaching that in a 2-hour masterclass on the 13th. The link for that will be in the description box below. It is 144 to enter into this workshop. There will be a replay. If this is even the slightest bit of curiosity to you, that will be worth every fucking penny, to finally put both the science and the spirituality behind what's happening. For context, I do have a master's degree in metaphysical science, which bridges spirituality and science together to be able to put real life scientific evidence to what we see in the spiritual world. So that's really cool. And yes, if you're wondering, I am in the process of writing my thesis for my PhD in that. But I won't be revealing what I'm writing the thesis on until it's done. But needless to say, when people can control what and how your neurotransmitters communicate to each other, you're fucked. Because your neurotransmitters are meant to release synapses, which is the word for communication between the two neurotransmitters and the rest of the brain and body, to be calm, to regulate your nervous system. So when they have control over those neurotransmitters, you can't have a calm nervous system. You're always deregulated. But what happens if you have a deregulated nervous system? You're always in survival. And if you're always in survival, you can't create a new Earth. You're stuck in fear. If you're stuck in fear, you haven't spent the last 5 years building and preparing for the new Earth, nor will you spend your last 4 years. Well, I would say we have 1 more year left to actually do it before it's too late. So what they're doing is wreaking havoc in your nervous system to keep you in a state of fear-based survival instead of love, source-based creation. Now let's go to the spiritual. The vaccine is here to alter your DNA. It is scientifically proven that vaccinations change your DNA. Vaccinations contain DNA in them. They contain things like formaldehyde. They contain aborted fetuses in them. Like that's something else's DNA. You know what I mean? And a lot of vaccines as well have other animals' DNA in them. So your DNA is being genetically modified. And I'm gonna break something to you that's gonna be a little bit of a The COVID vaccine was not the first time that they tried to genetically modify your DNA. They've been genetically modifying your DNA since the second you came out of your mother's womb. That's why you don't give birth in a hospital, and unless you absolutely have to, and you never, ever let a vaccine near your child. That is common sense in the year of 2025. Sorry, not sorry. I remember one time a man was like, we can't be together if like we can't vaccinate our children. And I really hope he's doing good now because we're not together. That was a funny time in my life. Sorry, my personality is coming out, and I'll be like very smart and educated on these topics, but I also have a little life behind the scenes of education. So let's continue on the actual genetic modification of your DNA. Why? First of all, because you're like, you can hear those terms, oh, they modify your DNA, but no one's really gone into like why are they why and who. Well, we're not going to get into who is all this because that's just too complicated for this video. But they modify your DNA because there's two sides of this, three sides of this. First of all, you're disconnected from God when your DNA is fragmented. God created DNA perfectly. Like, your cells are all perfect. Your DNA is perfect, is exactly how God would create you and how God has created you for a billion motherfucking years, right? Well, we haven't been around for a billion years, but you know what I mean. Long time. God's always created DNA perfectly. When you can alter the DNA, you alter the species. Most people aren't 100% purebred human. Like, I'm not. I was vaccinated as a child. I never got COVID vaccine. I was forced swine flu vaccine, even though at like, I don't know if I was 8 or 11 or 12, one of those ages. I knew. I will never forget the terror and horror I felt in that line. It was snowing, it was icy cold, and I was like, this thing's gonna kill me. Like, I just know that this vaccine is gonna kill me. Like, it was the most insane thing for like an 8 to 11-year-old to feel and know. Like, I was calling this out when I was a kid. Like, I knew, but I didn't know till I was obviously a little older when I found out everything. Anyways, it's funny, it's like right when I hit my like legal age is like all the information came out for me specifically. Anyways, I was 18 when I learned everything. I'm supposed to say that was 8 years ago for context. For how long I've been aware on these things, it's not been like a year or two. We've lived a life, basically. How crazy is it though for anybody who is around my age or entire 20s was dealing with psychological government warfare and biological warfare. Welcome to your 20s. Anyways, moving on. Hopefully the 30s we're not dealing with. I was just thinking like in 4 years of either like we're conscious and alive or we are not. Anyway, let's focus on vaccines. I tend to get a little bit off track. This is why my workshop's 2 hours, because I'll get off track a zillion times. But vaccines, the impacts that has on your DNA. So it's removing the original coding of your DNA. So it's removing the God codes, removing your connection to God. People could say that's the mark of the beast. I don't even want to get into that because that was just a bit like, no, I don't think anybody will ever know, but I also think we all know what's coming, and potentially coming anyways, is already present. I'm gonna focus only on vaccines because there's like, once again, this is a 2-hour masterclass for a reason. This is the introduction to a little bit of a masterclass, although we're focusing on AI and EMF's physical impacts on the stabilization of the grid and your physical body grid. Once again, link in the description. The other thing that they're doing when they're modifying your DNA is they're creating a new species, right? Species that they can easily control from the inside out. If they can control a species by doing their little whatevers to broadcast a frequency through their 5G EMF towers, which that's what that's for, by the way, then they have control over everyone. And they have their own species. And then humans are pretty much extinct. And transparently, I think that you will see 8 billion people. Most humans are extinct and most humans are not, especially like, I'm not gonna go into it, but most humans are, what would they say in like, when like there's an animal? Humans are highly endangered species, if not borderline of extinction, then transparently. When your DNA is modified, you're also disconnected from your ancestral bloodline, right? So that's a whole new thing. So if you got the COVID vaccine and you never did any sort of like reversal for it, that's not your pure ancestral bloodline. If you have children afterwards, the bloodline's been mutated. You don't have your genuine ancestral bloodline, so you lose the gifts, the wisdom, the traditions, and the history. Eventually, all cultures, tradition, and wisdom would be eradicated from the planet because the codes and the gifts are not in your DNA. I'm a good writer because my mom was, right? I have very strong spiritual gifts because of a really strong ancestral connection that I had to Ireland, right? Our ancestry is why we have a lot of gifts. It's why we look the way that we do. So if we're modified, then we're modified how they want us to be. The way that they modify us is having our DNA manipulated. If we don't have our natural restored DNA, we don't have our ancestral gifts, history. I mean, sure, it's going to eradicate having to take on our ancestral curses, but you're not a human when all these manipulations have happened to you. And do you see how that could be very triggering from a perspective of someone who's catching this video and is vaccinated? So I do apologize for the disruption of the truth of what's happened to you. And this is why I offer vaccine reversals. And I think that will go into like the psychological, emotional, and other things in another video because this is already almost 20 minutes. But this is why I do vaccination reversals. This is why this is, after 6 years of work in this world, spiritual industry, whatever you want to call it, vaccine reversals remain the most important thing that I could ever serve because of the actual impacts of restoring a bloodline, of being able to bring and restore your DNA back to its natural state, of being able to turn off the nanotechnology in your brain, close your field to the portals that are open. When we're turning off the nanotech in your brain, you're not as subjugated to the frequencies that are coming through EMF, so you're less able to be controlled. It is literally like post-vaccine reversal for my clients is literally like they're stepping into a new self. Like I've had so many people say like, I didn't realize how much it impacted me until now it's been reversed. Because once that's reversed, you finally get back to like, you know how you feel like maybe you were like better back in 2020, or like you were more evolved or you're more connected, whatever it was. It's like you literally get to restore yourself back to who you were before you were genetically mutated and modified and coerced. Here's the thing. I only know how to do vaccination reversals because I remember the date where it was like you can't enter a store or do anything if you're not vaccinated. And I was so mad. I was in a mountain lake thing and there was canoes on the lake. And I pretty well ran to this lake, got on a canoe. It was a sacred site. So I went right to the center of the lake where the energy flows. And I prayed for divine intervention because I was able to recognize that a requirement to be vaccinated to like work, all these things, enter stores, take a plane, whatever, was immediately, okay, there's another thing that I want to talk about so bad, and it just dropped, but it's like, don't talk about it yet. It's a whole other thing. I'll say that I will be talking about vaccine passports in another video because that's something else that I think that, I don't know if anybody else was able to identify it back then or if it's just my like very strong ancient history education background, but we'll go into that in another video because if you were in a country with vaccine passports, once again, another video. But I essentially prayed so deeply. I said, God, you know, like this isn't natural. This is going against divine will of most people in humanity. Free will is being taken away. And I remember learning at some point that if free will was being taken away from anybody, that there's more chance of the actual godly divine intervention on this planet due to the fact that it's going against divine law or God's law. So I did this huge prayer and it was maybe within 3 weeks that I was then put into the world of vaccination reversals and beginning. So I've been doing this work for 4 years. I've had incredible results from my clients. And yes, when you inquire, you get a whole PDF explaining what happens together, the science backing what I do, as well as testimonials and reviews from other clients that I worked with. So you will get to see the impacts that it's had on people and how they've been able to restore back to their natural selves. So I'm gonna end up this video now. It feels like it's complete. So much more I could touch on, and once again, I do have a masterclass that right now is in the future, but you probably are watching this after it's happened, but if not, or if so, and you're like, I want to learn more, I do have my full, and it's not 100% about vaccine, but I'm sure vaccine will come up in it. It is about EMF and it destabilizing Earth's ley lines or the energy flow of the planet, and that's direct linked to the energy flow in your body and how you can actually stabilize that both on the planet and yourself through ancient Mayan culture and teachings, linking it to the Mayan calendar, which I know that that's a lot of words. That's a lot of words. That sounds like an essay. That sounds like a research paper. I am the most like studious individual. I don't look it. I'll give you that. But I love to write papers. So that's our masterclass. It is a very much an educational, teaching-based experience that I'll be running. If there's any quantum healing or healing that comes through, cool. But this is mostly about educating you because people are not educated on this topic. So the access to that will be in the description box below. There is a replay, so if you do catch it, pay past the 13th, you'll just get the replay emailed to you. Lifetime access to the replay. Feels so weird when people give you like 3 days or 7 days for a replay. Ugh. Just let people access it whenever they want to access it is my vibe. What if you want to watch it beyond the week? What if you're busy? Anyway, sorry, I feel weird about people who like give out replay access for like a week. If you do that, I'm sure you have a genuine, real strategy behind that. I feel odd about it. I'm like, I'm gonna let my people listen to it when they want to watch it. Anyway, I hope that you enjoyed this video. So controversial, so make sure you subscribe for more probably controversial videos. If you have any other questions, or you're like, oh, she mentioned COVID tests and nanotech. What did the COVID test do? I didn't get vaccinated, but I took a COVID test. What did that do to me? What did that do? Please ask me that question in the comments. I'm begging, so then I have a reason to make a video about what they did. Oh my god, because that one, I'm almost like want to stop this and like rage record a second video on COVID tests, because holy, that was bad. That was so satanic is the only word that I can put on it. Okay, anyway. I'll see you either in the masterclass or in the next video. Sending you so much love.